Thank you to the people who are supporting me on Ko-fi. You guys are keeping me alive.
The explosion was deafening. Smoke filled the air, and the unmistakable smell of singed fabric entered your nostrils. You have been caught up in a training match with Bakugo Katsuki. A first year, like you. You and the rest of your class had already experienced a lot of nightmare scenarios with villains and other scum. The recent retirement of the #1 pro hero All Might had led to a flood of violence. Because of this, the daily training regimens had become harder. The next generation of heroes needed to be battle-hardened, as much as possible. Sadly, however, it seemed the fact that you and your classmates were still between the ages of 16 and 17 was moving further and further in the background. It didn't matter that you were technically still children. For a new training exercise, your homeroom teacher Aizawa had decided to make the weaker students fight the stronger ones in a knockout round. Among which were you, your enemy, Bakugo. The boy was wild, always angry, seeing any act of kindness as something detestable. But you managed to do quite well. You dodged many of his attacks, and the more debris he created, the more you could turn into projectiles using a quirk. The other students had watched in awe as you skillful movements. However, up until now, no one knew why your movements were so fluid and spine-breaking. Not until that incredible explosion. Your ears were ringing and you couldn't see right. Too much dust. However, as your silhouette came into view with the others, they began immediately shouting for a medic. Why? You were still standing. You didn't even feel pain. But as your eyes adjusted, you blinked and looked around yourself. Bakugo was staring at you. What the fuck? He growled. You looked down at yourself and you shrieked. A large chunk of your body had been blown off. However, there was no flesh and bone or blood beneath. What was under your layer of what so far had seemed to be skin was ropes and metal wires. Not to mention all the cracks running across your body. The bits and pieces of rope that were connecting your arm were still wiggling and grasping, as if the arm was still there. Your body lost its balance and you fell forward on your knees. Trying to remain calm, you let the ropes of your body tighten to gain purchase. Slowly you stood up on shaky legs. And before anyone could say anything, you ran out of the gym. You heard a few voices, but the further you got away, the faster you ran. Your goal was your dorm room. Thankfully, no one was there to stop you or ask questions. You knew that eventually you'd have to tell people, but right now you were too traumatized. Quickly you entered your room and locked yourself inside. Took a quick shower before hiding under your blankets, silently sobbing to yourself. What a joke. Maybe you weren't cut out for this after all. Over the next few hours, Aizawa came together with Recovery Girl. And to both you told your story in embarrassing detail. They left with the promise to inform your parents of what happened today. Damn it. And later the girls from your class also demanded entry into your room, mostly just to chat. Bakugo had knocked, clearly forced by your homeroom teacher Aizawa to apologize to you. The sun had begun to set when the final person of the day had decided to intrude on you. Gently they knocked, and upon not hearing either a go away or get out, they let themselves in. Their footsteps were light and calculated. Clearly this wasn't one of the weirdos in your class, like Mineta. Hey. Oh, that unsure voice. That was Izuku. What did he want? Quietly you rolled over on your side. The boy was wearing a comfy white shirt and a pair of black sweatpants. Was it this late already? Your eyes moved towards your nightstand. 9 p.m. Did you really retreat like this for 6 hours already? I didn't even realize. Your gaze wandered back to the green-haired boy. He had something wrapped in cloth like a precious artifact. Aizawa told me to, visit you once you stopped crying. He blushed. Clearly this was as awkward for him as it was for you. His eyes fell upon the deep cracks on your face. Go on, ask, you said, knowing that the topic was definitely coming up now. He blinked. Ask? Izuku looked away, and your face crumbled into a grimace. Don't ignore me, Izuku. I can see it in your eyes. In this moment, the boy wanted to turn cold and run. Just lie the bundle down on the ground and leave, never to return, but at the same time he remained defiant. Aizawa wanted me to give this to you. You raised an eyebrow. With shaky hands he placed the bundle next to you on your bed. Sitting up, you unwrapped it, and you felt heat rise inside you. It was your arm. Looking away, you said, Thanks. If you could blush, you would in this moment, as you took off the blanket. Izuku's eyes widened. You weren't wearing any clothes outside of a pair of pink pajama pants. Not that there really was anything to ogle at anyways. Your body was smooth. It looked somewhat like skin, but not really. A little too perfect. Your body had the basic anatomy of a girl's doll. Maybe that's why you didn't seem to have any shame before him. Of course, your right half looked incredibly damaged and messed up. Izuku could see that under the smooth material that was your skin was nothing but ropes, like tentacles. The cut pieces awoke and unraveled, grasping your arm and putting it into place. It wasn't for the damaged skin and loose burned rope bits. It almost looked like it did before. And you regained control of your arm before throwing the blanket back over yourself, on your face being visible now once again. Did you enjoy the show? You growled sarcastically. Izuku awkwardly scratched the back of his head. He knew he needed to say something witty, right? It was kinda the thing people did in these situations, right? I certainly expected the first bare chest I see in my life to be less, He gulped, too shy to say the rest of the sentence. Go on. Admittedly, you were a little amused by his awkwardness. You know, more fleshy. His tone, his face. God, he was such a dork. Thankfully, you found that super attractive. Sighing, you asked, Are you clean? He blinked. Clean? Like When was the last time you showered? 2 hours ago? He was confused, but understood after you scuttled to the side, allowing him to sit. And once he sat down next to you, he just looked at his bare feet. It's okay. I calmed down. You can ask, you said. Your face barely moving. But a piece of your cheek fell off and landed on the ground. As you leaned forward to pick it up, he was faster and gently inserted it back into your face. Overcome by emotions, you looked away. I mean, do I have to ask? At this point, you can't just tell me. It's easier for me when people ask. Why are you a doll? It began when your quirk first manifested. An incredibly powerful psychic ability. However, your 5-year-old body could not handle the unstable nature of it when it manifested. And it gave up on you. But unbeknownst to even yourself, your mind was still alive. You were a spirit of pure psychic energy. And you would possess your own corpse without realizing it. Sure, your parents noticed that your body was being cold and pale. After that discovery, the decomposition of your body had been artificially slowed due to your spirit giving it some energy. But eventually you had been brought to a hospital. Sure, your parents noticed your body being cold and pale, and the decomposition of your body had been artificially slowed due to your spirit giving it some energy. But eventually, you had been brought to a hospital, where your world and the world of your parents had come crashing down. At the same time, you were living on borrowed time, and the doctors did what they could to preserve your body for as long as they could, until a solution was found, and a solution they did find. It was thanks to the toy hero Professor Wondertainment, who had created a unique-looking doll the size of a 4-year-old, and you were taught by the spirit medium hero Seventh Sense how to release your body and enter the doll. As you explained everything, Izuku's eyes widened. He even asked if he could bring his notebook to write everything down. And with a disappointed sigh, you led him. Over the years, you had taken up to 4 different doll bodies created by the toy hero. And you learned to control your quirk thanks to Seventh Sense. The two had become like family to you. And it was also them who recommended you for UA, thanks to the simple fact that you wouldn't die so easily. Could easily upgrade your body with lethal and non-lethal weaponry, and, well, still could manipulate other things mentally, like rocks, and use them as shields and projectiles. This is fascinating, said Izuku as you finished your explanation. What was your quirk called again? You blinked. Sentience. Sentience, he repeated with a pleased hum before writing it down. Why are you writing down all our quirks anyways? Izuku smiled awkwardly and blushed hard. Well, I sorta got used to it. As a child, I would analyze people's quirks and battle strategies, in the hopes to then hone my own. He offered you his book. Here, after Kak-chan got hold of one of these, I rarely show them around, but, you know, I think I should show you. After all, it's about you. Next to a rather adorable chibi drawing of the puppet you were currently inhabiting, was a lengthy description of your past. Some things you said were weirdly detailed, while others you seemed to barely waste time on. You tilted your head. Some of the information here you must have written down as you fought Katsuki. You'd be lying if you said that you weren't impressed. After returning the notebook, however, he asked another question. How do you feel? You blinked. I mean it. You sighed. I don't know. My body's never were this damaged. It's really alien feeling. Looking at something that should hurt so much that I pass out, but I don't feel anything. You furrowed your brows. I actually feel very little, but it's embarrassing walking around with a body that's so shattered. The two of you went quiet for a moment. You know, I think it's inspiring that someone in your situation wants to become a hero. You looked at him skeptically. I asked this my friends before. Why do you want to become a hero? You smiled, amused. It's the logical thing to do. Seventh Sense told me that the energy will run out in a few years, so might as well do something good. Izuku blinked. What? It's aging, for normal people. Of course, I use up energy with everything I do. Sure, if I just laid down and did nothing, maybe I could live up to 200 years, maybe more. But where's the fun in that? If I do hero work, I could remain maybe 30, 50 years on Earth. Izuku looked at the ground. He couldn't quite fathom how it must feel to be in your situation. And then a brave thought came to him. I'd like to show you something. With wide eyes, you watched him get up on his feet and take off his shirt. But what made you squeak wasn't his perfect physique. It were his scars. He sat back down next to you and held his right arm up. My body cannot fully handle my quirk at 100%. If I were to use it at its strongest, my body would completely rip itself apart. You may have seen me put too much strain on it in the past already. Gently you grasped his arm, and he shuddered. Your synthetic skin felt cold against his, making him shiver. His breath quickly became heavy as your fingers danced across the rough skin of his seemingly endless cuts. His shoulders jolted when the sharp tips of your fingernails scraped against one so tightly and gently. You admired his physique. For someone with such a baby face, you're quite manly. Your eyes darted over to his face. It was incredibly red. Do you like what I'm doing? You asked. His breathing became panicked. Gently you pressed her hand onto his chest. I've seen how you were ogling at Uraraka. His right eye twitched. What's wrong? Just making out a reservation. Also, aren't you the one who took his shirt off? Your fingers reached for one of his areolas and began dancing around his nub. Up close like this, he could see the tiny joints of your hands. It was strangely alluring to him. Slowly your face crept closer to him. Whispering in his ear, you spoke. I could ask Wondertainment to make my body look like hers. Just without the imperfections of her body. Or the imperfections he will develop in the future. Your words were the sweetest poison to him. Let me ask you something, Deku. He gulped in response. What do you think she thinks of you? I mean, she's constantly blushing around you. His lips quivered. Well, usually that happens when I do something embarrassing. Honestly, I think she just pities me. In other words, friend-zoned. You licked your lips and gently pushed him down onto your bed, your face hovering right above his. You know, what you were about to say was incredibly selfish. I think you might be right, you whispered. That was such a lie. Like all girls in 1A, you knew both of them were super crushing on each other, but guys who were vulnerable and meek really turned you on. Hence why you said what you said next. I can be whoever you want me to be. Of course, for now, you have to be fine with this. He looked up into your cracked visage. Can you make your new body look like hers, but maybe with longer hair? He was so cute. Your lips perked up into a sinful smile. This little fishy had taken your bait with open arms. Ask and you shall receive. But there's one thing I'd like in return. Playfully you put a finger on your chin. As you may have realized in this form, I lost most sensations. But one of them is taste. If you'd allow me to borrow your body from time to time to enjoy the taste of, pizza, chocolate, and other sinful foods. His eyes widened. Of course, this would require more trust than just friendship. Finally, Izuku understood. His overflowing hormones the moment you had placed your hands on him, your bittersweet words of promises and teenage angst finally getting the better of him. Do you want to be my girlfriend? Grinning, you accepted by lowering your head, pressing your cold lips onto his. He gasped as a wave of pleasure overcame him. Your tongue, despite being made of silicone, shot out and rubbed against his. It originally being pretty dry, it quickly became wet from his salvia, and soon his mouth's own body heat warmed it up enough to feel real. His first kiss being such a lewd one, you would have never imagined. Your hair tickled his face, and your eyes were completely fixed on his. Being so close, he could tell that such perfection could only be possible through artificial means. It seemed like they were almost glowing. The wet, lewd noises from your making out made him lose his sense of time. His hands grabbed your bed sheets tightly as pleasure began to override his rational thinking. And just when he thought he'd go mad, the door to your room flung open. Hey, Deku, how's she? Oh god, that voice. Oh god, that voice. Deku was completely pinned down by you, and you made no attempt at getting off of him. In the meantime, Deku's green eyes focused in on the face of a completely horrified Uraraka. He made a quiet noise of discomfort, but to the girl it sounded more like a pleased hum. Her face turned red and she immediately threw the door shut. The noise of your kissing and his pleasant moans still ringing in her brain.